Immigrants are an engine of economic vitality. We need to find a way, a path to legalized status for those that have come here and have languished in the shadows. There's no way that they're going to be deported. No one's suggesting an organized effort to do that.
Is he right, Senator, that immigration is the engine of economic vitality?
I would say, in fact, I talked about this extensively yesterday. Immigration can be if immigration's done the right way. There's Barbara Jordan, who you know very well, chaired the last immigration panel that was put together to try to find a bipartisan solution to immigration reform back in the 90s. And she made the comment, which is absolutely true, that immigration policy in America has to put America and American workers first. And so, yes, there are changes to our immigration laws that need to be made that focus the immigration policies on where we need certain skills or certain people to come to this country to help gin up and encourage our economy. But unfortunately, the current legal immigration system is not that. We bring a little over 1 million people a year into this country on average over the past 20 years. And the overwhelming majority are folks who are lower skilled or unskilled. And as a result of that, they're filling up a labor pool where, as you know, Michael, there's not a booming growth of unskilled labor jobs in this country. And we're bringing people in who will compete against a lot of American workers. In fact, since 2000, the number of native-born Americans working in the workplace has gone down. There are fewer Americans working today who were born in America than there were 15 years ago.
What I've always said...
all of the net new jobs created are going to people who were not born here because they're willing to work for lower wages.
What I've always said is that the same type of individual who will risk it all to come to the United States, even illegally, has those same traits and characteristics that make him or her an entrepreneur. React quickly to that, because I want to move on to something else.
Well, I would say if you look at the skill levels of the people who are coming and the jobs that they are taking, they're not they aren't entrepreneurial jobs. They may end up eventually, the next generation, et cetera. But I would just suggest that the reason you're seeing median income dropping, the reason you're seeing wages stagnating is because we have record levels of legal immigration. I'm not saying shut it down, but I will tell you the last time we had this kind of surge in immigration was the Great Wave between 1880 and 1920. And after that Great Wave, there were two bills that were passed, 1921 and 1924, and they both passed almost unanimously in the House and Senate. Why? Because they put politics aside and they did what was best for the American worker.